everyone, and welcome to this session of the ASEAN-Japan Business. We are pleased to have you join us for this time discussion on the role of AI governance tool.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rosel Andrea Navalta, Program Officer at the ASEAN-Japan Center. Welcome to the 7th episode of the ASEAN-Japan Insight series titled The Role of AI Governance in Trade, Lessons from ASEAN and Japan. Thank you to all our participants for joining today. The ASEAN-Japan Insight series is the Center's platform for timely discussions on emerging issues that shape ASEAN-Japan relations. Through this series, we convene experts from industry, academia, governments, and regional institutions to share perspectives and deepen cooperation on topics of regional importance. To formally begin our session, it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Chairat Leongkajornkiat, Director of Program Operations at the ASEAN-Japan Center. Director Chairat, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's session of the ASEAN-Japan Insight series. On behalf of the ASEAN-Japan Center, we are very pleased to have you join us for this timely discussion on the role of AI governance in trade, lessons from ASEAN and Japan. As artificial intelligence continues to transform the global economic landscape, the way we govern and guide its use has become central to ensuring that digital transformation remains inclusive, trusted, and conducive to sustainable growth. AI is reshaping supply chains, business operations, and cross-border trade, and both ASEAN and Japan are uniquely positioned to contribute to and influence the development of sound policy frameworks in this rapidly evolving environment. Today's webinar builds on the ASEAN-Japan Insight series commitment to bring together perspectives from government, research institutions, and regional organizations. We will also hear the findings of a dedicated study conducted by our ASEAN-Japan Young Expert Fellow, which explores the opportunities and challenges of AI governance across ASEAN and Japan. Through these discussions, we hope to deepen our understanding of how coherent, forward-looking governance can support innovation, strengthen competitiveness, and foster greater regional cooperation. Thank you once again for being with us today, and we look forward to a productive and insightful exchange.
Thank you, Chairat-san, for your insightful remarks and for setting the context for today's event. Today's webinar focuses on one of the most transformative forces of our time, artificial intelligence. AI is increasingly reshaping how businesses operate, how governments regulate, and how trade flows across borders. With ASEAN's diverse digital landscape and Japan's advanced policy framework, both regions offer valuable insights into building responsible, future-ready AI governance systems. Through presentations from our speakers and a panel discussion, we will explore how ASEAN and Japan can work together to develop coherent AI governance that supports innovation, trust, and sustainable digital trade. Today's webinar is organized under the ASEAN-Japan Young Experts Fellowship Program, or AJF, and will feature the research findings of our 2025 AJF Fellow, Ms. Catherine Setiawan, who conducted a study on AI governance and digital trade across ASEAN and Japan. To begin, let us first hear from the ASEAN Business Advisory Council on operationalizing Japan AI Guide for Business in Southeast Asia and how businesses can adapt emerging regulatory expectations. However, Mr. Rifki Ueno is unable to join us today due to unforeseen circumstances. Instead, we are pleased to welcome Mr. Rio Ferdinand Keantara, Head of Research at ASEAN Business Advisory Council. Again, thank you very much for your time and flexibility, Mr. Keantara. If you are ready, you may now begin your presentation.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Rio, we can see your screen.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So, greetings everyone. My name is Rio Kiantara. Here represent ASEAN Business Advisory Council. And first of all, I want to say from Mr. Nick, we know that unfortunately he has another unscheduled uh, urgent event, so I will replace him instead for today. So, thank you first of all for the ASEAN Japan Center for inviting us to share our latest research on operationalizing Japan and Cat for Business in Southeast Asia. So first of all, a quick introduction of myself. I'm Indonesian, but currently based in Japan, but I often travel across ASEAN. So beside the head of research in ASEAN, back, I'm also currently supporting the Japan Foundation Southeast Asia Partnership Program Consortium between ASEAN Business Advisory Council, KU University SDM, as well as University of Indonesia Vocational Program. Before that, I have been doing some. Oh, okay. Let me change my audio. Oh, is my audio better now? Thank you, Dr. Lily. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Yes. So, yeah. Before that, I have experience in several research and also work in one of the largest e-commerce company in Singapore, Shopee, as the AI Trust and Safety product policy manager, covering Southeast Asia and India. Currently, I also supporting the initiative by the Indonesian governments, especially on the downstreaming as well as AI modeling initiative with the National Statistic Agency or BPS in Indonesia. Okay, so let me continue my session. First of all, I would like to say gratitude again to Japan Foundation for co-funding the research that we have started since last year. And for today, I would like to also introduce a few of our core members from University of Indonesia, ASEAN BEC, and KU University SDM. Okay, so let me start by like a conclusion that would represent my sharing for today. We acknowledge that the uniqueness of its organization and its human within it cannot be generalized. Because of this, AI principle and guidelines should not function as a rigid rules, but rather as a soft governance tools that allow flexibility, adaptation, and contextual interpretation. So since like I will have around 7 minutes to go, I would like to try to cover some of it, but maybe not all. And if you have any other question, feel free to ask me later during the Q&A session. So there will be some points that I would like to share, starting from the fundamentals of the AI guidelines in Japan and ASEAN. And I'm very pleased to have a representative from the METI that have started the Japan AI guideline for business that I use as the benchmark for comparing it with the actual condition in the ASEAN. So from the current governance model in the ASEAN, there are still a lot of fragmentation, and many ASEAN firms said that they are rely on technology vendors to define the AI policy by default. Governance tend to be also more reactive, informal, as well as unclear mandate and fragmented regulation across the key sectors. Uh, Also, regarding the philosophy, currently firms mainly adopt AI for productivity or cost reduction, and critical value creation itself is not yet integrated into KPIs for most of the companies. Trust first consideration are often the priority. We also experience uneven and diverse readiness among startups and SMEs that lacks the proper policies, as well as large conglomerates have a different inconsistent maturity across the region. Primary risk itself have some big issues like the black box model, unclear liability, vendor lock-in, as well as poor internal documentation and data governance, and limited oversight across various organizations. This emerged repeatedly through our survey and FGTs that we have conducted in 6 ASEAN countries. Talent and capacity also one of the big issue that being faced, mainly in the area of AI governance, where companies say that it's very hard to find a local or regional talent that have experience to navigate complex legal system that exists within the market. The international alignment itself is on progress, but there is no mutual recognition of what the accepted audit sandbox result and cross-border legal expectation between the ASEAN nation. That's the voice that we heard from the private sector during our research. However, we also want to like to share what's the existing AI governance framework, mainly through the work of the ASEAN Working Group on AI, or WGAI, that currently chaired by Singapore to IMDA. And they have 3 main mandates, and one of the most important thing that I want to highlight in this presentation is their responsible AI roadmap that just recently launched, and it provides a clear, actionable step-by-step guidance for the ASEAN government to prioritize and operational responsible AI. However, from the business point of view, there is still lack of operationalization, and that's why our research is want to help to share the perspective from the private sectors. Last but not least, it's also important, as most of you here that attended this webinar, ASEAN is currently have a target signing for Digital Economy Framework Agreement, or DEFA, and there are 3 most important points that I would like to highlight from the DEFA that is also publicly available through the JETRO news that I quoted. The first is about the CBDF. Second is about digital trust and online safety, as well as emerging cross-border tech cooperation that I believe Japan also would like to be part. And we believe from our research, Japan can help ASEAN private sectors to accelerate this adoption. Okay. Currently, we are still preliminary, so I will share preliminary insight for our research, and we have done 6 in-country FGDs from Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, Vietnam, and last in Bangkok, Thailand 2 months ago. And we will also have our hybrid policy conference and resource hub plans. If you are interested, feel free to contact me later, and we are planning to have it on in ASEAN Secretariat Hall in Jakarta. Okay. So let me share some preliminary key findings that we would like to highlight. So as mentioned before, we are currently also seeing the global references mainly from Japan with a high readiness, especially tailoring to specific business application with measures of law guidelines that available publicly. Other than the Japan, we are also seeing there is a global standard, mainly from the EU or US, that maybe not specific toward like a business, and there are some that we can learn from the global standard as well. We also get industry feedback from our multi-country FGDs and workshop. Beside the core pain points that I have highlighted before, there is also sectoral findings, like some key sectors, for example, in finance, have a strict compliance and explainability needs that is often governed by their particular industry sector, like watch, or like in Indonesia, there is a OJK for the financial sectors, as well as other country have a similar governance structure. For healthcare, it's very important to have interoperability and operational safety, as AI application have a potential harm for the effect to the human health and well-being. The third, on the manufacturing, there is existing issue on legacy integration as well as the cybersecurity, with many IoTs adoption that also use AI reboot have a limited access or current governance framework available. Last but not least, MSMEs or smaller businesses have a big issue on the digital skills as well as the readiness gaps and often vendor dependence when they use AI. We see there are some cross-country common themes that I would like to share in detail on the next slide. So this is like the main question that being asked to us, like what's the current challenges and opportunities. So for the challenges, I have briefly mentioned before, basically starting from the trust and transparency deficit. Second is structural talent and capability gaps. Third is fragmented data foundation and readiness, as well as the high infrastructure and compliance costs. I would like to highlight mainly on the compliance, since currently there is various policy across ASEAN jurisdiction, and we face issue mainly for the private sector to operate across the region. But I believe with the DEFA, especially on the cross-border, so the CBDF itself, it should help to mitigate this issue. The next one regarding the opportunities. From our research, we get 5 main points that can be conducted. The first is with Japan, we can do like joint pilots, share standard, and capacity buildings, mainly from the sector to sectoral, that can also be mutually like shared between ASEAN and Japanese counterparts. Second, producing like accessible tools like practical checklists or playbooks that can support real-world responsible AI adoption. Third is about the capacity building and upskilling. Fourth is using like soft governance approach to managing the risk that can be assisted between their system or when they conduct AI integration. And last but not least is also regional standardization that at least have a minimum acceptable agreement or like a standard that can be used for companies that operating across the region. Our policies and recommendation and next step is still currently on progress. And for our research, we would like to propose our human-centered AI model that we adopted also from the way Japanese counterparts see the role within the AI ecosystem. However, we add our own like suggestion, especially on how we see it from the main principle that across the ASEAN countries, as well as some operational layer, like a national regulation such as data protection that exists within each of the ASEAN countries. Our current possible policy responses consisted of 7 pillars that beside the governance foundation framework that I shared before, there is a risk and impacts management, explainable AI mandate, data governance and privacy, capacity building, especially for the talent. 6 is incentive program that can be utilized from each national country, as well as the regional sandbox that already being started within the ASEAN. And last but not least is also how the private sector or corporation can monitor and enforce responsible AI into their day-to-day business. We also would like to share our next step for further research that we also have applied to the Japan Foundation for next year. Currently, our research have a few limitations, and for the next research, we would like to focus on manufacturing sector, seeing that there are also a lot of Japanese presence across the manufacturing in the ASEAN region. And from this sector, we would like to create a more quantitative tools like ethical AI readiness that is specific for manufacturing sector. We would like to do a benchmark study and comparative analysis and plan to also conduct a few FGDs and workshop in Japan as well for our next engagement. If you are interested in being part of this research effort, please contact us at our email research@asean-bed.org. Yeah, that's all from me. Back to you again, moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kiantara. To continue, let us now look at Japan's AI perspective on AI governance and its implication for digital trade. Please welcome Ms. Shiho Nagano, Director for Information Policy Planning, Commerce and Information Policy Bureau at Japan's Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, or METI. She will discuss Japanese business perspectives on innovation and competitiveness when trading with ASEAN countries. Ms. Nagano, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. I'm Shiho Nagano from METI. I'd like to make presentation of implications of AI governance to business, the Japanese government's efforts and policy. Next slide, please. In Japan, the formation of AI-related rules has made great progress, especially over the past 2 years. First, Prime Minister Kishida launched the Hiroshima AI process at the G7 Hiroshima Summit in May 2023, and the Hiroshima AI process comprehensive policy framework finalized at the summit level in December. In February 2024, the Information Technology Promotion Agency, IPA, established the AI Safety Institute, called as ASI, as a hub for AI safety knowledge in Japan and overseas. In addition, MIC and METI updated and consolidate existing guidelines, publishing AI guidelines for business in April 2024. The AI Act promoting balanced AI advancement and regulation was enacted and enforced by the Diet in June 2025. I'd like to introduce some policies. Next slide, please. METI created AI Act. This slide shows Act on Promotion of Research and Development and Utilization of AI-related technology, called as AI Act. Japan is lagging behind in AI development and use, but many citizens are concerned about AI. So a new law is needed to promote innovation while mitigating risks. It prescribes the organization of AI strategic headquarters. Chairman is a prime minister. Members are all cabinet members. The law aims to be the friendliest country to develop and utilize AI in accordance with international norms, promoting innovation while mitigating risks. In this way, Japan is promoting AI rule making. And next slide, please. Next, MET created AI guidelines for business. It was first published in April 2024, updated every year, and next update will be expected in 2026. These guideline concepts are: first, support for voluntary efforts by business operators; second, coordinate with international discussions; third is easy to read for readers. This guideline was established through studies conducted by more than 100 stakeholders, consists of academic and research institutes, civil societies, including general consumers, private sectors, companies, and so on. And we regard the guideline as a living document. It's updated as needed while reflecting the agile governance philosophy. Next slide, please. The main part covers basic philosophies called as why. The ideal society while considering stakeholders' expectations. It also covers the guideline principles called as what, the efforts to be made regarding AI. The appendix covers the ways of implementations called as how, the specific approach to be adopted for AI developers, AI providers, and AI business users. Next slide, please. And METI also created the checklist for contract guidelines for the use of AI and data. This is checklist for practitioners complying key considerations for AI users in the manufacturing industry and other sectors. Next slide, please. Next, GENIAC Prize. Applicants can choose the field from 3 categories: private sectors, public sectors, and safety, and make application. Following a review process, prize money will be awarded according to the results. Safety is to promote development of risk identification and risk mitigation technologies to ensure the safety of generative AI. Proposals must include both the risk and count measures for safety AI, and the validity and ripple efforts of the evaluation methods will be assessed. Through this initiative, the social implementation of generative AI by companies across safety area will be promoted and progressed. Next slide, please. Last year, AC, called as AI Safety Institute, was established in February. AC supported public-private sector initiatives centralized on the Cabinet Office and involving more than 10 ministries, agencies, and 5 government-related organizations. Their role is first to create safety evaluation standards and methods. Second, to study on implementations of AI safety evaluation. Third, to cooperate internationally with relevant organizations. In this way, Japan is promoting AI rulemaking from various angles, not only through legal and soft law, but also through support for the advancement of safety technology and the establishment of organizations aimed at safety. This is my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nagano. Now, to deepen the context of our discussion, we now look at the research findings of Ms. Catherine Setiawan, who conducted a study on AI governance in digital trade across ASEAN and Japan. Please welcome Ms. Catherine Setiawan, a 2025 ASEAN-Japan Young Experts Fellow. Ms. Catherine, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I hope everyone can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Sure. So I will just share the slide myself. Okay. Can everyone see my slide now?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you so much everyone, and for the previous presenters, Ms. Nagano and also Mr. Kiantara. So I will present the finding, actually not really the finding because I'm still working on my research, but this is some of the progress so far. So this is the table of contents on why AI is actually important for Japan and Southeast Asia, and a little bit of case study on AI adoption in digital trade in Southeast Asia, and the progress of AI governance in Southeast Asia and Japan. And next is the integration of AI provisions in international trade agreement, and lastly, on what is the role of responsible governance in enabling trade. So the importance of AI, economic perspective is economic impact of AI in 2030 is expected to provide 10% to 18% uplift in GDP across Southeast Asia and Japan by 2030. It's nearly $1 trillion for Southeast Asia and also $331 billion in Japan. And this is actually not only on the trade sectors, it's mostly all sectors, but On the trade itself, it because the productivity increase across sectors and reduce trade costs, leading to global gains in trade and GDP. So AI adoption in digital trade, I'm using Lazada, one of Southeast Asia leading e-commerce platform as my case study. And in Lazada, we can see that Lazada is using AI into three usage for the smart product optimization to help seller automatically improve product title description using Gen AI image. It could also help small business to create professional eye-catching product pages within minutes. And the second one is to use AI as a translator. It breaks language barrier to translate product content into multiple language and to accommodate seller in different countries. And lastly, on the AI assistant to build into the seller platform to provide instant support and guideline. And based on the Lazada case study, it actually shown that AI is actually helping from the perspective of the people and respondent. AI is actually save costs in the long run, and also the second one is AI is critical in increasing productivity. But despite the positive side, there are also some challenge in the case study for the Lazada, which relate to skill and workforce, infrastructure and adoption barriers, and also regulations and protections. Because strong consensus across market underneath agree that the Southeast Asian people and the seller especially are in need of upskilling employees to use AI effectively. In addition to that, the infrastructure to support AI implementation, and on the regulation aspect, especially to enhance protection mechanism, particularly in dispute resolution, consumer protection, and also AI tool that align with compliance and security standards to build confidence among users. But despite the need of robust AI governance in Southeast Asia, the AI governance in Southeast Asia and Japan so far is actually are just getting started. We can see here the AI governance in ASEAN, for instance. From 2020 to 2025, I show you the chart of the update of the AI. And the conclusion is actually the AI governance in Southeast Asia is still in the early stage of maturity, meaning that most countries are still building foundational AI governance capacity, and policies are conceptual, voluntary, and limited in scope. And also, it is still law enforcement coverage and focused on only, mostly still on the awareness of capacity building. So ASEAN need to actually move from voluntary and non-binding guideline to more into the enforcing policies. And this is the history of AI governance strategy in Japan, which I guess already discussed a little bit by some already been discussed by the previous speakers, especially on the operationalizing the AI guideline for business and also the AI Act of Japan. But the conclusion is basically Japan has always been innovative leader and also driven. Unfortunately, still the same with Southeast Asia. The approach of AI governance is still soft law and voluntary. So Japan seems to like focusing and remain cautious in balancing innovation, promotion, and risk management rather than imposing strict and regulatory penalty, meaning that even the current 2025 AI Act retain a soft law, innovative, focused philosophy. So it's still the same approach of enforcement with most Southeast Asian countries. So I compile some of the trade agreements in ASEAN and also in Japan to check whether there are specific AI provisions and how it relates also to digital trade. So unfortunately, most agreements, most free trade agreements do not have dedicated AI chapter. With DEFA mentioned a little bit with the study that being published so far, DEFA did mention a little bit of one of the 9 pillars on the emerging cooperation on emerging topics, which might include AI as well. And DEA is the one of the agreements that encourage cooperation in emerging areas such as digital identities and AI. One of the things that's being mentioned as well. But despite not having a dedicated AI chapter, the digital trade and e-commerce provision can create infrastructure and standard. For example, on data protection, cross-border data flow interoperability, and regulatory harmonization. And that could enable the responsible development, deployment, and trade of AI technology across the region. So what are actually the role of responsible governance in enabling trade? Before I go to AI governance or data governance, there's a little bit of distinction of data governance and AI governance, because pretty much we always make AI governance as part of data governance, which is pretty much correct. However, AI initiative is just one part of data governance concerns. So as AI capabilities grow, organizations also need a dedicated AI governance framework to manage the distinct challenges surrounding their development and use. But then, despite the fact that AI governance is not the same with data governance, it underscored the need of a strong data governance, considering that the AI governance in Southeast Asia is still on a voluntary basis and non-binding. So it is still, again, underscore the need of a strong data governance for enabling responsible AI adoption and building a trusted digital future for the region. So one of them is I put DFFT as one of the examples on how it could enable trust, because Japan has been actively promoting DFFT with the objective to promote the free flow of data while ensuring trust in privacy, security, and IP, intellectual property right. And DFFT can actually enable trade by removing data localization, because and also to enhance efficiency and innovation, considering that data is critical in modern economy. So a seamless, reliable, secure flow can optimize global supply chain, and also to build trust through strong protection, and also to promote regulatory cooperation and interoperability. I guess so. This is the conclusion of my research so far. But I don't know whether I still have time, Dr. Katrina. But yeah, I can actually maybe give back to the moderator. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Setiawan. So our final presentation comes from ERIA, or the Economic Research Institute of ASEAN and East Asia. Let us please welcome Dr. Lilian Ng, Lead Advisor for Southeast Asia at ERIA, who will outline key regional policy needs and governance gaps in ASEAN, as well as the opportunities for deeper ASEAN-Japan collaboration. Dr. Ng, over to you.
Thank you. It's really such a great pleasure to have discussions with all of you today on this very important issue on AI. Thank you for having me. Before I start, let me share with you one simple observation. It took 75 years for telephone to get 100 million users, but it took only 2 months for ChatGPT to reach the same milestones. Currently, ChatGPT has 3.4 billion monthly users globally. WeChat, Chinese applications, has 1.8 billion monthly users. So that's how fast and how massive the growth of AI That's gonna change not only the way we work, but also the way we live. In these sessions, I'm gonna discuss particularly AI in ASEAN and how collaborations with other Asian countries can shape the future of AI governance and AI development in the region. Next, over the last 50 years, the global economy has increased 30-fold from 3 trillion US dollar in 1970 to 110 trillion US dollar in 2024. Much of this has been contributed by openness in trade, openness in investments, mobility of talents. Looking ahead, global economic growth will be shaped by digital and AI. Core competitiveness of a country will be determined by digital and AI capabilities and reliability of energy supplies. Next. Now we can see that the global economy has been experiencing rising tensions. The global economy is projected 2.3 this year, 2.4 next year. ASEAN is relatively more resilient compared to other regions with 4.6% this year, 4.3% next year. But we should be prepared. The rising tensions between the US and China now is on trade, on the national strategic industries, will remain the same, if not escalating. It will be extended to national security and technology, because looking ahead, the supremacy growth will be decided by digital and AI capabilities. Next. So what are ASEAN potential in these issues? I'm going to focus on semiconductor and digital economy. Next. So if we see over the last 8 years, semiconductors in China has been increasing 2 times. China's exports from 94 billion US dollar in 2017 to 220 billion US dollar 2024. ASEAN exports in semiconductors increased 3 times from 52 billion US dollar to 165 billion US dollar. Next. Another potential is on ASEAN's digital economy. Currently, ASEAN has 692 million populations, of which 72% are internet users. In 2025, ASEAN's digital economy is recorded at 300 billion US dollar and is estimated to reach 1 trillion US dollar by 2030, or is contributing about 10% of the global digital economy. Next. What are the challenges for ASEAN? Next. Let me highlight 2 things. The first challenge is low investments in digital and AI and limited use of digital and AI in productive sectors. Currently, at the global level, AI investments in AI will reach 4.5 trillion US dollar by 2030. So it's about the same size of the German economy, right? But the thing is that these investments only controlled by few firms, largely only in the US and China, right? And we are only the users. Currently, AI has 1.4 million models in the world, of which 89% are open source. And this kind of the growing AI will bring productive gains at one hand, but the other hand, we need to remember that it poses immediate risk of growing power concentrations and rising inequality. Other challenges also include data privacy, cybersecurity, misinformations, unfair competitions, and definitely a widening digital divide. It's also our homework on how to optimize the use of digital and AI in productive sectors such as manufacturing, education, agriculture, and other productive sectors that will leverage value added and productivity. Next. The second challenge for ASEAN is low investments in renewable energy. I'm giving you a simple illustration. Saudi Arabia, one of the richest oil country in the world, is targeting 50% of its energy will be coming from renewable energy by 2030. From renewable energy. ASEAN currently only have 26% of ASEAN's energy mix coming from renewable energy. As I mentioned in the beginning, the credibility of the growing in digital and AI will be rely on the foundations of energy, reliable of energy supply. And renewable energy is not an option. It's not an option, it's a must that ASEAN should go towards to renewable energy. For ASEAN to be able to have a credible and reliable energy supply in the long run. Next. So how should ASEAN do and how should ASEAN collaborate with Japan and other countries in the world? This is open for discussions, but let me highlight two things. Next. ASEAN has already provided major efforts in digital and AI, starting from having frameworks and guidelines, ASEAN community visions, ASEAN's digital community, ASEAN's guide on AI governance and ethics, as well as pragmatic solutions. ASEAN is very much advanced in payment systems, in regional operations applications, as well as regional cloud and data centers. Next, so if I may propose, how can ASEAN collaborate not only with Japan, but also with China, South Korea, and other countries in the world? First, on AI governance, I think it's very important for us to ensure that AI should not be used in the military applications and ban autonomous weapons. We can't put our risk on a machine that don't have human values. We also need to ensure global transparency and accountability through oversight, safety audit, and pre-deployment assessment prior to the operations. Prohibit AI-generated mimicry of natural humans, currency, and officials' documents, and uphold human-centric values of fairness, worker protections, reskilling, and equitable distributions of AI benefits. Second, AI ecosystems. I think it's very important for us. AI data is about scale. It's very important for us on how to develop constructive digital and AI community and environment for safely test, refine, and scale innovations. Third, investments in infrastructure. I think it's important for us to increase investments not only in digital infrastructure, but also in renewable energy. Last, but the most important one, I think at the end of the day, technology, it's all about talents. So how we can strengthen joint research R&D, knowledge exchange, and regional talent and mobility programs. Next, as a part of my dedications to global knowledge, all the details you can find out, all are free. It's free access. You can find out the details on this research and books. So I'm looking forward to have discussions with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ng, and also thank you to all our other speakers. We will now proceed to the panel discussion and Q&A session. May we remind the participants that you may submit questions through the Zoom Q&A box at any time. But before we begin, may I introduce to you Dr. Katrina Navallo, Program Manager for the Research and Policy Advocacy Cluster at the ASEAN-Japan Center, who will moderate the panel discussion today. Dr. Katrina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Razel, and to all our speakers for their very rich insights during the presentation. I think this point really marks a significant turn in terms of moving forward with digital economy integration, given the developments in the ASEAN region with the close to the end of the negotiations of the ASEAN Digital Economy Framework Agreement. And we've also seen that there are significant movements in terms of AI operationalization, both in Japan and ASEAN countries. We've also noted that for both Japan and ASEAN, the role of the business sector is actually very important in terms of shaping how AI governance and utilization will look like. So I guess I'd like to hear and throw the first two questions for our speakers from both ASEAN and from both and also from Japan. So I guess I'd like to call on Ms. Nagano from METI. From the Japanese business sector perspective, how do you think Japanese businesses perceive the opportunities and challenges of adopting AI and digital tools when they start to engage with digital markets or with the ASEAN market?
The opportunities for Japanese companies to introduce AI and digital tools in the ASEAN market are 3 points: the growth potential of the market, the efficiency of the workforce, and the promotion of data utilization. First, ASEAN countries are experiencing significant economic growth and advancing digitalization, which is expected to create new business opportunities through the introduction of AI and digital tools. Given the close distance between Japan and ASEAN, along with the strong trust relationship that has been built, I am confident that there are many opportunities for co-creation. The second point is that it is possible to utilize AI to improve efficiency and automate operations in response to labor shortage and rising labor costs. The third point is that in the ASEAN market, as the collection and analysis of digital data are progressing, it is possible to extract value from data and market strategic decisions by using AI and digital tools. Additionally, there are two challenges to consider. The first challenge is the development of infrastructure. In some ASEAN countries, the digital infrastructure is underdeveloped, and there may be a lack of the necessary foundation for the introduction of AI digital tools. The second one is understanding and responding to the regulatory frameworks of each country. When interviewing Japanese companies about their business in ASEAN, we hear that many companies face challenges in keeping up with the latest regulatory information in each country. Moreover, especially in the field of AI, there have been significant changes in the legal systems in recent years, and there are voices calling for public support. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nagano, for highlighting those important points. We've also felt that really ASEAN market is receiving the highlight when it comes to their performance or their potential to perform well in providing AI services and also engaging in the digital trade. And also our presenter earlier from ABAC, Rio, has actually also pointed out similar pain points, such as pain points in terms of infrastructure, and I think most importantly in terms of trust. So I guess I'd like to throw this question to Rio from the business perspective in ASEAN in general. What do you think would be the most important aspects that could shape AI governance in ASEAN and maybe in extension to Japan, particularly for businesses participating in digital trade?
Thank you for the question. I think what we're seeing across the region, as well as in Japan, is also a growing understanding that trust is now a business requirement, not just like a policy term, like a community guideline or term and condition only. Companies that participate in digital trade and realizing that transparency, explainability, and the assurance directly affect whether partners or their users would like to transact with them. If the system or how they will manage their data cannot be explained, the deal often doesn't go through. Trust and safety is a field that also gaining more momentum as more digital trade companies invest to ensure their customer satisfaction and loyalty in the long run. Another clear trend that I see is also the demand for practicality. Businesses want something that they can actually use, like simple tools, checklists, or operational guidance that fits into their existing workflows. They don't have time for abstract technical theory, and they need more support that helps them move fast but responsibly at the same time. And finally, businesses strongly prefer government models that are flexible and risk-based. As previous speakers have highlighted before, that businesses also would like to have a chance to experiment, learn, and adjust without fearing that every innovation will trigger a compliance problems. This balance between trust and agility is becoming the defining expectation from the private sector in our point of view. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much. Our presenter earlier, Catherine, gave us a good comparative overview of the stipulations in terms of the AI governance in both ASEAN and Japan. And I think from what Rio mentioned is that it seems that Japan and ASEAN are both risk-based when it comes to their approach in AI governance. And for Catherine, what do you see as the most critical AI-related risk that could directly affect digital trade? And how do you think the current policies are addressing it?
Thank you so much, Dr. Katrina, for the question. I hope you can hear me because I'm just using my microphone. So I think the most critical risk, pretty much, I could imagine one is algorithmic errors and bias, because AI-driven product recommendations, pricing, and fraud detection sometimes can unintentionally favor certain sellers or even buyers. So creating unfair outcomes and reducing market efficiency, that could, reduce market efficiency and create unfair outcomes. So, and the other would be system reliability and downtime, because AI system that manage logistic inventory or customer support may fail or produce inaccurate outputs that could disrupt trade operations. And also the issues related to fraud, data protection, and security vulnerabilities. Those are some of the risks that I could think of that I really think very important, especially also, I think all the speakers mentioned about this also, AI system can be exploited for misinformation, fake reviews, payment fraud, cyber attacks, and others. And the current policies in ASEAN in Japan, well, indeed, they are risk-based approach so far. However, the AI governance and ethics guideline, in theory, already promote fairness, transparency, human oversight, and all the ethical principles aspect. However, these remain largely law, non-binding, and not uniformly binding even across Southeast Asia. And also with significant variation in implementation across countries. So it means like many of the risks actually remain unmitigated in practice. So it's more into like whether how these could be more binding and more enforced towards the implementation.
Tareen, it seems like most ASEAN countries are moving forward despite having the current or inherent risks associated with the use of AI in digital trade. And for Dr. Lily, you provided a wide and comprehensive perspective of the AI concern, not just on digital trade, but you also connected it in terms of the semiconductor industry and its use or exploitation of energy. So, having heard from these presenters, from our presenters, what do you think would be the most pressing gap or weakness in the current ASEAN digital trade governance landscape? Will you be able to share some points with us?
For highlighting very important questions. Let me highlight three things, just particularly on the AI and digital governance. The three key pressing issue is that one is fragmented regulatory frameworks across member states. Currently, ASEAN has multiple soft law instruments, AI principles, digital master plan, but in the implementations, there has been uneven domestic implementations and limited harmonizations, rules, and standards. So this is something that ASEAN needs to work. The second one is lack of common risk-based standard. ASEAN individually has its own law and regulations, but ASEAN lacks of regional standardized risk in terms of classifications and disclosures of for examples, like for high-risk AI systems, considering the bias, safety, making oversight uneven and rising frictions in ASEAN's countries. The third one is capacity and talent source. I think it applies not only in businesses, but also in governments, as well as the general AI and digital community. I mean, considering, say, for example, Singapore compared to Laos, Myanmar, Cambodia, this kind of shortfall of digital in a number of ASEAN countries, making ASEAN quite difficult for ASEAN to have kind of a standardized in terms of discussions, in terms of moving forward the agenda on AI and digital governance. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lily. I would like to expand on that note in terms of the operationalization, like having those uneven standards and domestic implementation. As we segue into our second round of panel discussion, we would like to touch on concrete mechanisms, speaking of standards and interoperability, that could enable a closer ASEAN and Japan collaboration. So for Japan, Ms. Nagano, what forms of cooperation could best support ASEAN-Japan collaboration in AI-enabled business promotion? Could you cite some examples that METI or the Japanese government is already doing with ASEAN?
I think the first point is training and capacity building. Japan can provide training in AI technology and digital tools to ASEAN talent, thereby improving their skills. This will promote the adoption of AI within the ASEAN region and create a sustainable business environment. For example, the Matsuo Laboratory at the University of Tokyo has offered cutting-edge data science courses in ASEAN called Global Consuming Intelligence, GCI, which attracted 600 applications from University Technology Malaysia and Institute Technology Bandung. These seminars are supported by Global South subsidiary from METI. The second point is knowledge exchange programs. Joint knowledge exchange programs between ASEAN and Japanese companies and research institutions enable the sharing of the latest information and best practices on AI business strategies. For example, I have area examples, so Dr. Lily may know well, but I like to introduce seminars held by AREA, the Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia, funded by the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, METI, cover a wide range of topics, including economic growth, trade, investment, sustainable development, digitalization, and the use of AI. Participants can learn about the latest research findings and policy recommendations. Addressing regional challenges, it also serves as a forum for exploring solutions to the various challenges facing the Southeast Asian region. For example, economic disparity, environmental issues, and the advancement of digitalization. These seminars also serve as a forum for exploring solutions to the various challenges facing the South Asian region. So these are the examples supported by METI. Thank you.
It seems like even the academe is very active in terms of promoting capacity building and closer collaboration in this aspect. And I guess that also connects to my question for Rio from the ASEAN business side. There seems to be a lot of immediate areas where ASEAN would benefit with Japan's AI governance approach and the capacity building mentioned, right? But also, just out of curiosity, allow me to have a question in terms of the potential of sandboxes in helping businesses and SMEs experiment with the AI tools for trade. Could you give us some perspective on what do you think would be the sectors that would benefit the most from these kinds of regulatory sandboxes?
Yes. Thank you for your question. I think for the regulatory sandboxes itself, definitely it give smaller and medium enterprise or SMEs um, like a safer environment for them to try out AI solution without being overwhelmed by the regulatory uncertainty. It's a space where they can test, learn, and refine before even deploy or have their go-to-market implementation. And the sectors that I think would like to gain the most are the ones that deeply involved in cross-border operation, like manufacturing supply chains would benefit because they deal a lot with documentation like their export-import, custom, excise, quality checks, and logistic coordination across the regions. E-commerce and trade finance will also gain from these sandboxings because currently there are also some companies or solution that have their uh, solution using AI for doing like automatic verification using the OCR or the natural language processing capability, as well as conducting a more automated support for fraud checks as well as custom processing. I think in the wider space, even like the traditional sectors like agriculture could also benefit through improved traceability as well as export readiness. Sandbox also could create like a shared learning across the countries as highlighted by Nagano-san as well as Dr. Lily that I think currently knowledge exchange and joint pilots as well between Japanese counterpart and ASEAN would also be supporting like a peer-to-peer like collaboration because I think Japan have a very mature governance approach while at the same time ASEAN counterpart have also like a rapid innovation and agility that Japanese counterpart can also learn from us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for highlighting those. And it seems like there's a lot of opportunity now since both regions are open to really exploring such collaboration. We hope that we could see more developments in terms of those experimental sandboxes. For Catherine, you've mentioned that there is a heightened fragmentation. And actually, all of the speakers also referred to that fragmentation in terms of the standards and interoperability between ASEAN and Japan. What do you think would be an effective regulatory or institutional mechanism to reduce fragmentation between ASEAN and Japan? Could you cite some examples from your research?
Thank you so much, Dr. Catherine. I guess we could have a spirit assessment framework. As I think Dr. Lily mentioned just now, there is no standardized risk on especially high risk AI system. So I guess developing a common AI risk assessment methodology that all ASEAN countries and Japan, or maybe some other countries with the same vision and mindset could adopt for evaluating AI systems in especially digital trade. And this framework maybe could also standardize how risks like bias, security, vulnerabilities, and operational failures are also identified, measured, and mitigated. And in addition to that, I was actually Googling this information that area is actually presented as a Japan AI innovation roadmap during the 31st ASEAN Economic Ministers and METI consultation. So I guess that's one of the steps also. I think this is just really happened in September 2025. But in addition to that, maybe, like setting up a dedicated ASEAN-Japan AI digital trade working group, if that's possible, or maybe business, because all the presenters did mention, Mr. Kiantar also mentioned the operationalizing AI Japan business guidelines to the Southeast Asian business people, to facilitate continuous dialogue, policy coordination, and capacity building. It could also enable sharing of technical expertise, for example, regulatory experience, and also update and progress in the AI governance.
Right. Thank you so much, Catherine. I guess this also relates then to my question to Dr. Lily. Dr. Lily, given the current developments and also how AREA is participating in this field, what do you think would be concrete steps to establish interoperability of governance of AI governance standards between ASEAN and Japan, despite without yet having established harmonized legislation across countries?
I couldn't agree more with Dr. Nagano, Rio, and Catherine, and thank you for highlighting the contributions of AREA to this development. Let me highlight three things. I think Japan is very good, that ASEAN and Japan can work together. Let me highlight three pragmatic things. First, in data protections, I think it's very important for us to have practical rules on training, on data, consents, anonymizations that can inform ASEAN member states to ensure protecting privacy. The second one, risk management, that includes a safety standard, accountability, and deployment experience prior to operations. I think Japan's sectoral approaches in manufacturing robotics, healthcare devices, AI safety standards, that's something that ASEAN can also learn in ASEAN's industrial upgrading priorities to helpful for technology transfer as well as upgrading ASEAN's industries. The third one is on coordinating institutional architecture. Again, I think Japan has established AI strategy headquarters that includes technical, industrial, and legal expertise. That's also something that ASEANs can learn, establishing a coordinating institutional to be responsible on this particular issue. And the last but most important one, I think I totally agree with all panelists. It's very important to keep engaging in knowledge exchange, in training, not only with Japan, but also with China, South Korea, and other countries that are relatively more advanced in digital and AI compared to ASEAN's. And ASEAN is always very much open for the best of everyone. I think it's very important to have this kind of constructive engagements and discussions, training and capacity building with our counterparts. Thank you.
So it seems like we're all moving. There's a strong imperative for concrete collaboration between Japan and ASEAN. And as we move on to our third and final round of discussion, I'd like to ask Ms. Nagano, how do you think Japan can promote innovation to facilitate smoother business engagements with ASEAN markets?
I suppose there are two ways Japan can promote smoother business collaboration with the ASEAN market in the fields of AI and digital technology and drive innovation. First, collaboration between Japanese and ASEAN companies. Japanese companies can promote innovation by collaborating with ASEAN companies to incorporate new ideas and business models related to AI and digital technology. Funding and mentoring through accelerators and incubators is particularly effective. METI provides various forms of support in this regard, including support for Japanese companies and business matching events through JETRO. Our AI division also planned a business matching event between ASEAN and Japanese companies at AREA. While this did not take place as a large-scale demonstration in Jakarta, the visit provided Japanese companies with the opportunity to visit local conglomerates and interact with local venture capitalists, providing a valuable opportunity for business promotion. Opportunities for business co-creation in ASEAN are increasing year by year. The second point is policy recommendations and cooperation. It is also important for the Japanese government to provide policy recommendation and cooperation with ASEAN countries in the field of AI and digital technology. The Japan ASEAN Digital Economy Agreement is a cooperative framework for promoting the development of the digital economy, establishing rules on digital trade, data distribution, cybersecurity, and other areas. This will strengthen cooperation in the digital sector. Furthermore, in October, the Japan-ASEAN AI Co-Creation Initiative was issued as a leader's statement, proposing measures for Japan and ASEAN countries to deepen cooperation in the field of AI, appropriately utilize AI, and create new markets in growth industries, including AI, in order to resolve economic, social, and development challenges as outlined in the SDGs and build a trustworthy AI ecosystem. We intend to strongly support Japan-ASEAN co-creation in the AI and digital sectors through opportunities for business-to-business collaboration, as well as through intergovernmental recommendations and rulemaking. Thank you.
Thank you for highlighting those activities. So I think for both ASEAN BAC and METI, these initiatives are very relevant and already ongoing and are actually good points for closer collaboration between companies in both ASEAN and Japan. For Rio, given the variety of the level of the businesses and SMEs that are participating in digital trade, what could you say as what kind of AI governance would be most supportive for businesses and trade to participate in this field?
Thank you for your question. And I think from our point of view, and after discussing with various level of companies, like we come to a conclusion that the region needs soft governance that is simple, predictable, and easy to apply. Companies, especially SMEs, like you said before, don't need like hundreds of pages of guidelines or rules, and what they need is more clarity on responsibilities, expectation, and minimum standard that protect themselves and their stakeholders. Consistency also across borders is also essential. I echo what Dr. Lily have mentioned before, that since we see that there are many businesses operate regionally across ASEAN, and if every country have their different rules, it creates more hesitation and cost to the private sectors. A more harmonized approach would make digital trades much smoother and more effective for the players across the region. In addition, the governance model must remain flexible, and I echo co-creation, as all panelists have mentioned before. If rules are too rigid, innovation will stall. What businesses are looking for is a model that encourages experimentation while still providing enough guardrails to protect users and ensure fairness, transparency, and equity amongst the relevant stakeholders. When governance able to support innovation rather than hindering it, companies will feel more confident and adopting AI in meaningful ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Rio. I think it's also important to balance innovation and not to overly restrict businesses in terms of developing the technology, right? But I guess when we look at the regulatory perspective for Catherine, looking ahead, what do you think should be regulatory priorities that both ASEAN and Japan should focus on to build trust?
Thank you so much again, Dr. Katrina. I hope my audio is better. It's rained very heavily in my area now. And I don't know what's wrong with my earphone, but anyway, I agree with Mr. Kiantara that AI governance need to also support not only in business field, but also on the trade to build trust, to be simple, predictable, easy to be applied. But I do think that for the element of trust itself, we need to enhance algorithmic accountability and transparency.
I think Catherine may have some issues with her connectivity. I hope that the situation in Jakarta is manageable. I guess I'd like to turn to Dr. Lily first. So, having had this discussion for ongoing opportunities, looking forward, what opportunities do you think both regions could explore to ensure an inclusive and harmonized AI governance when it comes to trading?
I agree with all panelists, and I'm just thinking very pragmatic solutions that ASEAN and Japan and other countries can do. Let me highlight 4 things. First is ASEAN has potentials in digital trade and the use of AI in accelerating digital trade and regional payment. So why don't we have implement now currently ASEAN has implementing QR payment in Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore. So why don't we start by implementing local currency QR payment systems also in Japan? That will help a lot for MSMEs to be involved in digital economy in ASEAN and Japan. The second one is on capacity building hubs. I think it's very pragmatic. It's very good solutions to establish Japan ASEAN AI capacity program that will help to close talent gaps as well as help to operationalize audit, improving standard, as well as impact assessment. The second one, the third one is I'm thinking about sectoral co-innovations and standard setting consortium. For example, launch Japan ASEAN Consortia for AI in manufacturing, health, and green technology, or perhaps we can also extend in educations and public services that create a common standard for safety certifications and risk management. The last one is this might be a bit like medium term. I'm thinking about collaborations in AI and digital infrastructure as well as renewable energy. I'm really triggered by the fact that development of digital and AI will rely on renewable energy. So I think the growing of AI, we need to push forward having ASEAN, say by 2030, having at least 60% of energies will be coming from renewable energy, no fossil fuel, no gas. I think it's very important for us to think about sustainable digital and AI in the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lily. I think you mentioned potential projects we could potentially explore together. We have here from METI, we have here from ABAC, and our center and area could work together towards that end. I think we would like, now that Catherine is connected again, Catherine, would you like to provide additional information or like response? Oh, we missed her again, unfortunately. Actually, we have a question. I think we have 2 questions from the audience. And is it possible if I could pose the question to both Rio and Ms. Nagano? For Ms. Nagano, you mentioned about the GENIAC as a very supportive program for AI startups in Japan. The question is, do you think Japan can expand GENIAC programs to ASEAN in the near future?
Oh, that's a very good question. And we are planning to expand GENIAC to ASEAN through the matching event and the co-webinar. But this idea has just started, so just planning to expand GENIAC, and we are supporting Japanese GENIAC companies to expand their business to ASEAN, and we will save the budget from next fiscal year from April. This is a small start, but we are assuming this project will be bigger year by year. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing this, Ms. Nagano. We look forward to having that expansion to ASEAN. Next question was posed to Rio. You have mentioned about AI collaboration between Japan and ASEAN, potentially starting from the manufacturing sector. What do you think specific challenges on collaboration? What do you think are specific challenges on collaboration between ASEAN and Japan, and other than fragmented regulatory framework?
Thank you for the question. I think other than the fragmented regulatory challenges, that there are other three main barriers that hinders the ASEAN-Japan AI collaboration in the manufacturing sectors based on our initial research. The first is like all I've mentioned before from the panelists is about the capability and digital readiness gap. We have seen that Japanese manufacturers operate with highly standardized processes and strong quality control system, while many ASEAN factories, especially the smaller and medium enterprises, are still at the early stage of digital transformation. This digital gap affects the data quality, infrastructure readiness, and even the ability to maintain AI-enabled production environment when it comes to a joint pilot or a product together. Second is cross-border trust and data governance maturity. Japanese firms tend to be more conservative about their data sharings, while many ASEAN firms still struggle with the issue of cybersecurity, privacy standard, and their existing internal data governance and AI governance itself. Without trust, it becomes difficult to conduct any potential collaboration, like a build shared datasets for training joint AI models, as well as implement interoperable system between the key partners. A third is also regarding the workforce and cultural alignment. Japan has a long-established engineering and manufacturing discipline, and currently, since I also study and met with a lot of Japanese companies, I learned some principles like monosukuri and kaizen culture. And in ASEAN, workforce skills and literacy is varied widely. From highly advanced to still learning at the early stage, this collaboration requires more harmonization, not just in terms of the fragmented, but also on the expectation, training, and workplace norms. I do second the idea of Dr. Lily to establish a joint exchange or knowledge hub in Japan and ASEAN, mainly on sharing best practices and case studies. This also mentioned throughout our forum group discussion, and one of the idea is like there are also many Japanese companies that operate within the ASEAN countries, and I think those inter-companies case study would be interesting to be explored, as many of the Japanese companies also collaborate with local conglomerates as well as SMEs throughout the entire value chain. Thank you.
Yeah, those are very productive suggestions. Thank you so much, Rio. I think we would just pose one last question to Ms. Nagano, and also to Dr. Lily, if you could add later on. So when you talk about potential B2B collaboration between Japanese and ASEAN companies to ensure inclusivity in the adoption of AI, which industry do you think is the most ready?
That's an interesting question. As to AI, in some areas, I think Japanese companies has specialty such as factory automation AI and also content creation because Japan's contents are made by artists and there are many animations and music exported from Japan. And we have some companies who assist to create contents by AI. So I think factory automation AI and creating contents AI is the most suitable areas we recommend, and we are focusing on matching companies between ASEAN and Japan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nagano. Dr. Lily, do you want to add anything to that?
That's very important indeed. I think I'm gonna go with education sector. It's very, very, very important for us to have good educations in terms of digital and AI, and making all people understand, and particularly young kids, to understand the negative impacts of digital and AI, misinformations, and all this kind of unnecessary informations that's gonna float it to their minds. I think it's very important for us as responsible adults to ensure that our society have a good and credible educations on digital and AI. Thank you.
Right. That's, I think that wraps up this discussion. It has been really enlightening from both sides. Thank you so much to our esteemed speakers. In the interest of time, we're going to have to wrap up our session, and I'd like to turn it back over to my colleague, Razel. Thank you so much once again.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Katrina, and thank you to all our speakers for the very rich discussion. Today, we heard 3 clear messages. First, AI is now central to the future of digital trade, and both ASEAN and Japan are advancing governance frameworks that balance innovation with responsibility. Second, interoperability through shared tools, standards, and sandboxes is the most practical path to closer cooperation. Third, trust is essential. Strong data governance, accountable AI systems, and support for SMEs will ensure that AI-enabled trade is inclusive and secure. So, thank you once again for joining us today. Please do not forget to answer the short feedback survey that will be available right after this webinar. We look forward to a continued ASEAN-Japan collaboration.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you very much.
We'll be in touch. Thank you so much, Ms. Nagano, as well. We'll be in touch with our activity report after this.
Thank you.
Have a pleasant rest of the week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone, for having me. Thank you, Dr. Lee.
Thank you, Rio. See you again.
See you again soon, Dr. Lee.